Oh, do it, do it. Oh, high spinning pitch shots, the dream of so many amateur golfers. And in this video, we're going to tell you how to do it and then some of the top little secrets that the tour pros use to get that extra spin around the green. This is the international side of spinning now, by the way. So first of all, if you are new here or you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We are almost at 500,000 subscribers here on YouTube. It would be great to have you as part of this community. And as always, if I hole or on the demonstration shots, you must smash that like button. So we're going to start talking about how backspin is created and also the types of clubs and balls that you're going to need to generate the maximum amount. Now, when we talk about a pitch shot, first of all, it becomes different than a chip when it spends more time through the air than it does on the ground. That's my definition, the Peter Finch definition 2021. Now, anytime you strike a golf shot really below the equator, which you can see here with this divide ball, it's going to start spinning back towards impact, and it's this backspin that keeps the ball up in the air. The more loft that you use at impact, the more lift you're going to get. And if you strike slightly down on the ball with lots of loft, you're going to generate a beautiful amount of backspin. That's not the end of the story though, and there are lots of little complications that can come in, but we're going to get into that at the end of this video. Now, to generate the maximum amount of spin, a few things need to be present. You need a good strike on the golf ball. Oddly enough, with a wedge, it doesn't have to be bang out of the center of the club. Actually, slightly lower on the face creates a little bit more friction. That was almost a gazillion likes on that video right there. In a day like today down here at Formby, it's absolutely essential that you can control spin because it's baked out, it's hard. We're not going to be seeing the ball ripping back loads on this green, but controlling that spin, shaping the ball a little bit on your pitch shots is going to be essential. If you strike the ball slightly lower on the face with a wedge, it actually deflects downwards, creating like a weird bit of gear effect. Oh, come on, go, 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 go. Oh, wow, that really did zip. And it kind of comes out with a lower launch but higher spin. But again, that's more, we'll get into that in a future video. We don't need to bog you down with details. Just hit it out the middle of the face, should be fine. And talking about the club face, it's essential that you keep that club face nice and clean. You want the grooves of the club to be able to channel away dirt, and you want the ball to be interacting with the club face. You want that friction to be passing onto the golf ball. Now, if you are a regular golfer, you might want to be changing your wedges about once every couple of years. That's if you're playing twice a week. If you don't play quite as much as that, you can get away with having a wedge for quite a long time. However, if you want the most friction on this face and you want to generate the most backspin, keeping the face clean or getting new wedges is important. The wedges that I'm using for this video are the Callaway Jaws. This is all of 2 days old. For the first few shots, I'm using a 60-degree lob wedge with 10 degrees of bounce, and I'm also going to be using the 56 version of this wedge as well. Now, whilst the wedge you use is very important, the golf ball is probably even more so. As a general rule, the softer the golf ball, the more it's going to spin. So I have two examples here. I have the Vice Pro ball and the Vice Pro Plus. Now, the Vice Pro will not go as far because it's a little bit softer. The Pro Plus will go further because it's harder, but the Pro will spin more around the greens and the Pro Plus will spin less. A Pro Plus is actually going to launch higher though, so if it lands on a soft green, it might stop quite quickly. Whilst today in these conditions, I think a Pro would actually be better to spin the ball a little bit more. So for a basic short pitch shot here where you generate a lot of spin, this is going to be a very similar technique to what we talk about in the studio, just a smaller version. And I'm going to use the Vice Pro here as well, so that softer golf ball. Ball position wise, I'm going to put it quite central in my stance, and my stance is going to be quite narrow. I'm going to put about 60% of my weight on my front foot, and I'm going to lean the handle just slightly ahead of the ball. I'm going to keep the weight on my left side as I hit, rocking the shoulders back and then through. Absolutely blasted it. Now, for this length of shot, I don't really want to be taking much of a divot. I want to try and slide that club underneath. That was better. Oh yeah, that was nice. And even on a short shot like this, using the Vice Pro, I can get the ball to stop pretty quickly. Yeah, on the second bounce, that's just dying straight away. Now I'll switch over here and hit the Vice Pro Plus. So this is the firmer ball, exactly the same technique. It's just popped up a little bit higher and it's just going to release out a tiny bit more, but in all fairness, it's 3 decent shots there. I might know what I'm talking about every now and again. Other factors that will affect backspin. Now, obviously you can see by the colour here at Formby, it's been dry. As this ball lands on the green, it's going to have a big firm bounce and then trundle back off. Is there a hole there? Oh, I meant it. Oh. Now, if there'd been some rain and the surface was quite soft, but then a little bit firm underneath, it'd be much easier to stop the ball and spin it back. So softer greens will generally hold that first bounce better and then get the spin. The second factor is going to be the lie. Now, this is a nice tight lie off the fairway. There's nothing impeding the club getting to the back of the ball, and therefore I can start to generate a lot of backspin. Best wedge in the world, by the way. From a lie like this, however, in the rough, there's going to be grass trapped between the club face and the ball. So I'll need to come a little bit steeper, de-loft. Ball's going to come out lower, and then it's also going to run on much further once it hits the surface of the green. Now, the conditions that you play in will also drastically affect the amount of spin. If, for example, you're hitting off a tight lie downwind, it's going to spin a bit, but it's going to run on because the wind is going to push the ball forwards and knock spin off the ball. However, if you switch around and hit into the wind, especially if it's a strong one, you can generate more backspin because the ball is being pushed back towards the player and it is increasing the amount of spin. We've already spoken about the firmness of the greens, which obviously plays a part. And as you start to play and experience golf more, certain shots where you can spin the ball more are going to become apparent. So as mentioned on the golf course, if you want a little bit more spin, you can increase the loft of the golf club. So the same swing with more loft will generate a little bit more backspin. But what we're going to do is talk through the data now and exactly how you can change your setup to hit different shots, increase backspin, get less backspin, and so on and so forth. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hit 5 of my standard pitching technique shots and then show you the data. So the setup, that's 60% of weight on that left side, hands just ahead of the ball. I keep my weight slightly on the left side. It's about 3/4 swing with this 56 to get it to 80 yards. Backspin at 10,000, angle of attack down at 10.5 degrees. Oh, that felt very, very spinny. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Another 10,000 there, good. Angle of attack, 10.2, good. Oh, it's quite short. Ignore me. So my backspin on that 80-yard shot with this 56-degree wedge was averaging out at just over 10,000 RPM. That's revs per minute of backspin. The more revs of backspin you get, potentially the more spin you're going to get when you get on the green. My angle of attack on average there was 11.1 down. So coming through impact, this club was moving down by 11 degrees on average compared to the level of the ground. The loft of this club is 56 degrees, but at impact, I was actually delivering about 46 degrees of dynamic loft. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit 5 more shots, but I'm going to put the ball back in my stance for a couple, forward in my stance for a couple. Let's see what happens to angle of attack. Let's see what happens to spin. So ball position here, just back of center in the stance. I'm going to keep the same swing length, same swing speed, all the rest of it. Hand position, again, ahead of the ball. Now, that ball position forward. Hands are now level with ball. So let's have a look at what happened first of all to angle of attack. So my standard wedge shot, that was 11.4 down. The shot that went back in the stance, that was 13.8 degrees down. And then the ball position when it went forward, that was 8.8 degrees down. In fact, to be honest, that one, I'd hope to hit up more on it a little bit. Obviously something I need to work on within my own technique. Club head speed is pretty comparable, between 70 and 74. Not super tight, but okay. The dynamic loft on the wedge shots where the ball position was in the center of my stance, that was 46 pretty much. When it went back in my stance, it was 43.2. And then when it went forward, it was 49. Now, as the loft increases, the launch increases. So the descent angle on those 3 shots at the center of my stance, it was 43.8 degrees, and descent angle is the angle that the ball takes coming into the green. At the back of my stance, it was 39.8. Now what that means, at the back of the stance, the ball's going to launch lower, it's going to come flatter into the green, and that would be the shot that bounces and then stops, or bounces and really rips if the conditions are right. And then the one at the front of my stance, 46.6 degrees. So that's going to be coming in very, very steep. It will probably drop and then stop. So making those variations just in ball position, really not a lot in technique, allows you to change launch angles, change the conditions of your shot. Right guys, get down into those comments below, let us know what you think about the video. Also like, and if you haven't already, as mentioned, subscribe. We are almost at that 500k mark. If you do want some advice on wedges, check out this video. And of course, we will see you down here next time.